pull up the agenda for today. What is happening? Okay, yeah, I guess right off the bat, Niels, FYI Substrate packaging Java PR.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that I did generate a new GPG key. The old one, nobody has the original anymore, and we wanted to reuse the Maven Central config for Substrate packaging now. So I generated a new key. Also makes sense because the old key expired in 2023. So we have now an unexpired key that I seeded into a bunch of key servers already, configured in the GitHub Actions secrets on the org level, and updated the packaging PR to use those, and prepared a PR for Substrate Java to use the new key and the new credentials that Jacques uploaded. And in that context, I noticed that all of the old keys reference security@substrate.io as the UID. I just wanted to check whether that is an actual email address and who has access, which might be good to document for the PMC.
That is, I believe that is a functional email.
Okay, good.
I'm just going to send the email to it right now, actually. You were saying, Jaxo?
Yeah, I was like, I think it's a Google group. Maybe not. Maybe it's just to me. I don't know what it is. I remember setting it up early on because we were trying to have everything be public, but we decided that should be a private list. But that's as far as I remember what the hell's happening with that. How is that?
I did just get a relay access denied message that is security@substrate.io. So,
well, apparently it used to work. There was a registrar transition at some point, and I feel like maybe it didn't make it across. Let me see. I'll take a look at it while we continue.
Yeah, I think the original intent was that would just messages to PMCs. Also harassment@substrate.io. Which would make sense.
I'm guessing that they both don't work if they like that they were set up the same way, I believe.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
I think it'd be reasonable to have them both forward to like a private like Substrate PMC emailing list to. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Cool. No, thanks for pointing that out, because I'm curious how many security vulnerabilities / like crypto scams we've missed out on, or opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, there are definitely some missed emails from one of the key servers that requires an approval for publishing the UID. But yeah.
Okay.
Good. Then I also added C++ packaging as CMake targets with Claude's help. I thought this is useful because Andrew from my team is spending quite a bit of time on the DuckDB extension these days. And he could be a natural adopter of C++ packaging. So that is merged, sits there.
Perfect.
And I just wanted to say FYI that exists. Then on Substrate Python.
I'm not sure why you'd want to include the C++ packaging in DuckDB.
Yeah, so what we have been doing in packaging is that we have a central place for packaging the core artifacts, like the proto files and generated source code from the proto files, or the code generated from the Antler grammars and so on. And
okay, so it's not Substrate C++.
No, it's not Substrate C++. It's artifacts that can be used to build Substrate C++ or can be used independently of Substrate C++ by the DuckDB extension directly. So
yeah, let's just decompose like the core library. So we've done this for Substrate Python, and Niels is working on Substrate RS for like Substrate, or I guess the Substrate validator can now depend not on the library, but can depend on the protobufs and just the extensions. And I think it's the split right now is you can pull in the generated protobuf code. You can pull in just the extensions, and that includes all like the static function files and all that jazz. You don't have to load them. Like you don't have to submodule Git to get access to them. They're now part of like a library that you can pull in version. And the last one is like the antler grammar, and that's split off into like 3 different packages. You can just pull in what you want and mix and match.
Yeah, and the C++ packaging works essentially like the Python packaging. So it generates the sources onto the tags that are created as part of the release, and then you can update your CMake targets to point to these tags.
Sweet.
Good. Then for Substrait Python, we had also a Conda feedstock that Gil Forsyth set up. And that broke once we switched over to the Python Substrate packaging, because these new packages are not on Conda Forge yet. So I've been trying to get ownership of the feedstock, which requires me to fix the feedstock. So I also created a PR to upload Substrate protobuf, Substrate Antler, Substrate extensions to Conda. All of those wait on Conda admins to do their job. But just wanted to let you know I'm trying to get access. And then once I have access, I would be able to add other owners, and we can add the rest of the PMC or whoever is interested.
That would make sense. This sounds like an exercise in updating all of our keys and making sure that the whole PMC has access to all of this stuff and not just individual people.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize we were shipping Conda packages for this. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only visible with like one of these badges in the README in Substrate Python. You can see that the version is a bit back compared to the PyPy badge. Yeah. Good. Then, yeah, this is mostly FYI. And then I found a couple of design issues, inconsistencies together with Claude while working on various things. So one is our precision timestamp and precision timestamp TZ definition doesn't work when you have high subsecond precision. So when you have nanosecond or picosecond precision, then the current model of having subseconds since epoch just doesn't have enough digits to have a meaningful timestamp. So for picoseconds, you are limited to 106 days plus minus epoch, which maybe is a little small. And on the other hand, there are probably not many users who are using picoseconds. For nanoseconds, it's not quite as bad, but it also becomes not very usable.
How many days is it?
For nanoseconds, I need to check. It's in the issue.
It's like 106 from what you were seeing, or what you were saying.
For Pico, it's 106 days. For nanoseconds, it's 292 years. So that is better. That's until 2262, or going back to 1678. So not as bad. Yeah, and we probably won't run into an issue, but picoseconds, yeah. I noticed that because there was a PR in Substrate Python for interval day, and that triggered a whole investigation on inconsistencies between interval day and timestamps, and surfaced these issues. Yeah. So yeah, there is an issue. So there's some options that Claude identified we can discuss in the issue. Just wanted to create some awareness. And for interval day, Ben already had commented on one of those. There is a bit of an inconsistency that interval day is the only type where the precision field is marked as an optional protobuf field, which means you can check whether it has been set or not set. And it is the only precision field of the time range which defines a default. And we don't have a default for precision timestamps. And that is a little bit inconsistent, and we probably want to make it consistent.
Yeah, I think the history there is that we didn't have precision at all. And we decided to introduce new timestamp types for precision, but really didn't want to have to introduce new interval types for precision. And so this was a backwards compatible way of supporting it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, we can. I think we should take a look and see whether we can make it a bit more consistent. The other thing that is that interval days also only defined up to nanoseconds, while all the others up to picoseconds. So that's just like a couple of inconsistencies we probably want to take a look.
Yeah, it seems like we also have to fix the picosecond handling. And I think the picoseconds was added because somebody wanted it, but maybe it was Snowflake or something. We could put it back to nanoseconds for now because that's what works. And although there's code, I think there's actually checking it in some places. But ideally, we rejigger things so that we can actually make picoseconds work.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking at the original PR that added it. I think it was just not sure what their use case was, but it sounds like, at least I was like, yeah, Trina does actually allow you to do this. I think some precision, some systems do in reality. I'm sorry, David, I interrupted you while you were saying something, I think.
I was just going to say, I mean, it's slightly orthogonal, and I commented on the issue, so we can continue the conversation there. But I'm wondering if we want to take advantage of, while fixing this inconsistency, maybe just dropping the existence of a default value entirely and just making it explicit. I feel like for the protobuf, it's really just the inclusion of one very small integer versus not, and it makes the plans more explicit. And to me, it just seems like there's not that much benefit for not including it, and you can just make the libraries handle that default magically for you if we wanted to have helpers there. So
no, I think it makes sense. I think historically sometimes we add a field with a default value to actually, we had this conversation, Niels, about the execution context where we could have a default. It was safe to it was difficult to migrate safely unless we picked one arbitrarily. So I think historically we add a boring default and then we can move to get rid of it. But for the optional, or for that picosecond one, or what we're talking about right now, it's probably feasible to remove the default. We can, because it's probably available with every system, we can just set the value and then make it required.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like interval day design inconsistency, Niels?
Yeah, this has this has additional inconsistencies. Like it's only specified up to nanoseconds, while the others are picoseconds. And yeah, it is the only one that has a default of 6 documented in a comment in the protos. And it's the only field that is defined as optional compared to the timestamps. And yeah.
Wait, I realize that this is always kind of a thorny issue that we end up discussing, but is this change safe to do, or do we have to do like a field migration or something?
Yeah, so according to Claude, removing optional is safe. The only problem is that the semantics change. So optional, removing optional has
you lose the presence check effectively. You can no longer tell if the field wasn't set, and you'll get a default value of 0.
Exactly, presence check, and then removing the comment obviously is going to change the semantic for those libraries who have been using or implemented the semantic. There's also an analysis in the issue, I think, of which libraries actually do something about the default and how they're handling it. So we can also look at what the actual impact is on our 4 supported libraries.
I mean, if we go into the libraries and add code to start rejecting them before we even make this change, we can say, hey, the libraries actually require you to set it, and then after which making this required should be safer. Like if the libraries do the right thing, because we would have to do that anyway. So you have to make sure the libraries like don't set the default value. Like they would want to reject ones where it's. I guess you can't tell if it's not set at that point. You just see 0.
Yeah.
Oh, protobuf.
Well, another option is to migrate to a new field and have that new field not have this 0 value.
But no, 0 is seconds though. Actually, to be fair, what we could do is
That's what I'm saying. I'm suggesting why don't we get rid of 0?
Because some people do want seconds.
So how do you represent the seconds?
Oh, I see now. Oh,
the other way to do this might be actually softer, but we say we remove the if unset tree to 6, and we say this must be set if optional like plans will be rejected, and then have it enforced in the libraries. That's the issue of like 0 values in a bunch of places. I think like fetch runs into the same issue where you have to make the offset optional, because I think offset 0 is like unlimited and offset unset is a problem.
yeah, I realized I misspoke before when I said 0. I meant to say this, which is not having this implicit default value, which I guess would become impossible in this setting. But this means that we might misinterpret plans if we don't do a migration then, right? Because if I'm understanding correctly, if we just switch
optional,
the fields,
it's fine.
Yeah, keep it as optional. Just change the semantics.
Keep it at optional.
Because Ben, you're worried that like if a plan wasn't setting it explicitly and making it if like a producer wasn't setting it explicitly.
yeah, if that was the case and then we made this switch, then a new consumer would interpret the absence of precision as the unset mode and treat it as 6, right?
No, because we're talking about upping the consumers to see if you see unset, then reject it.
If you see
But you have to
unset,
keep optional if you want to be able to check unset.
Exactly.
Gotcha, yeah.
But you wouldn't treat it as 0.
Don't do the line change here, just the line removal.
Like that's the point. What happens now is if the field is unset, we make it 6. If we remove optional, all we would see is 0, and we would assume seconds. The weird threaded way to do this is say if unset, instead of setting it to 6, you just blow up and be like, hey, give me a value, please. Like all the consumers like check for the presence of the field and then set it to 6 if it's not present right now.
But just to make sure I'm understanding, I thought the inconsistency that Niels wanted to fix was that this field is optional when all the other ones are required. Is that correct? Or
well, just to clarify, there is no unless you put the word required, it isn't actually required from like protobuf semantics, which I don't think we use in the other places.
And there's also a difference between we're saying that the spec says it has a default value versus the protobuf encoding has like an optional field on it. We're talking about getting rid of the default value at the spec level. It might still be optional in the protobuf, but that's like an implementation detail.
Yeah, exactly. So the other like the precision timestamps don't have an optional on the precision. That's one aspect. And in addition, interval day is the only type that defines this 6 default in the comment. Yeah. So these are the two.
I guess the other one is just assume that if it's not set, you mean seconds, and if you don't set, it's on you, which is also actually not unreasonable.
Yeah, which is also what I mentioned to Ben in the issue. In this specific case, since 0 is a valid value, then the default value from protobuf's perspective is seconds, and that could be fine. So yeah. So at the end of the day, removing optional and removing the comment would both lead to having the consistency with the timestamps and having valid behavior, because the default value 0 is a valid value. We would just there's just a change in the semantics, and for those consumers, which are not many, I think only 2 have this handling of checking whether the field is set. They would need to do a small code change. This is my understanding.
And we can start with just a consumer code change and start rejecting the optional if it's unset. That way people can fix the producers to set the values, at which point we just go up to like, hey, precision is if this is like every other one where we don't have any kind of optional handling. We assume that you're setting the precision correctly based on what you want.
Yeah, we can do that. And I changed this PR to remove the comment, update the line above to also include picoseconds, and keep the optional. And then we start changing the consumers to check whether the field is unset and rejected.
Yep.
And then at some later point in time, we could also remove the option if we wanted to. Yeah.
That makes sense. If all the libraries enforce it, that needs to be correctly set.
Doesn't, if that is the plan, if I am understanding correctly, wouldn't it be easier then to just migrate to a new field? Like then all of those things would become enforced by the protobuf compiler if we just introduced a second precision equals 4 rather than kind of changing the semantics of an existing field. Because it sounds like we'll have to do 2 PRs for all those anyways. One to start forbidding unset versions and throwing an error there, and then another one later after we potentially drop the optional to then update the code in those consumers.
Then you have to dual read all the fields and then they technically break the JSON compatibility and about like maybe not break JSON compatibility, but it's like adding a new field feels like
precision,
this.
better precision.
But aren't we changing the semantics? You know,
Neil's special
like
precision.
isn't it good?
Well, we can change the content if we communicate it. If we're telling people like, hey, we want to change the contract, please set what you actually mean on this. Isn't too big of an ask, especially if we update the libraries to tell them that they're doing this, and then they set it.
Yeah, I mean, we could do the whole process of introducing a new field, deprecating the old, supporting both, emitting both, consuming both, and so on. But what we always do. And based on our recent decision on the compatibility,
And to be fair, the compatibility means like, is there a path to migrate? If the path to migrate is please start setting this explicitly, we're going to change the behavior. That's actually totally reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's relatively small the change that needs to be made. So
We can chat about it in the PR. I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah,
I'm more for removing default values.
If we want picosecond or even nanosecond to work reasonably, we may want to change the actual structure, which might need something.
In which case, maybe it makes sense to do both at the same time, you know, because then we can do the migration to the new representation that can more faithfully handle nanoseconds while also dealing with this optional issue.
We could do that, but I wouldn't necessarily couple it. And this feels like...
Hey, Ben, I feel like you're losing that battle.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'll give it up. I'll give it up.
I said decouple it, and also it'd be
like you pitched it like 5 times. Like everybody's like, nah. We don't want.
And also, in the absence of anyone here really needing picoseconds, I'm also happy to say, like, here's an issue with picoseconds. At some point, someone's going to care about it. At which point, it's like, congratulations, we will work with you to solve this problem. But I'm not.
Well, that other comment that Neil's made about the fact that picoseconds is all fucked up because there's not enough range. You're like, like.
No, that's what I mean. At some point, someone's going to care about the range of picoseconds. I'm like, that is a known gap. We haven't had a use case for driving anyways. We would love to work with you to fix that problem.
Yeah, so that's why I have an issue for documenting the limitation at least, and I have an issue for figuring out how to solve it. So we would have
do you care about picoseconds internally, Niels, or is this just like a thing that you noticed that you want to document?
It's just something I noticed, and
there was somebody who came along and said I need picoseconds or want picoseconds, and it got added. But yeah, it seems unlikely they could be using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the default 6 might also not work on some systems that only support milliseconds. So yeah, that is another one. Yeah.
Good luck, Ben. Being paged. I think we are close to done anyways. Or I guess the next thing is type variation parent inconsistency.
Yeah, it's a fresh one. I noticed a while back that might have been not so recent that type variation is not implemented in Substrait Java, and I just asked Claude to take a stab at it, and it identified that in the one example type variation YAML that we have in the spec, which is an Afro alias for a struct, the parent field just has struct, and based on the grammars, you're not allowed to just use struct, but you need to define what the struct is made of. And so there seems to be a small inconsistency between what we allow in the grammar and what we have in the YAML, and yeah, how the interaction is there. I don't have an opinion yet, but yeah, something we probably should look into for the sake of consistency. Yeah.
That's good to know. I think we have some work this quarter that we want to leverage type variations for. So I imagine that we're going to run into some of these consistency issues here and there, and we'll probably do some stuff in the upstream to work around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for documenting all these. It's quite useful.
Yeah, I am also very happy with the outcome of my hunt here.
Yeah. Any other? I guess is there anything that you wanted to resolve for type variations in this meeting, or just kind of let us an FYI?
Yeah, most of this is FYI. Yeah, I think the Substrate packaging Java PR is ready from my perspective. Mark did also take a look and had some suggestions.
Oh yeah, for that one I'm happy to defer to you guys at IBM, because I barely look at Java packaging code. So
very good. Then I'll wrap it up with Mark. And yeah, there's also Go.
I saw that. That's actually quite useful, because I've been thinking that we should get rid of Substrate. Whatever the Substrate protobuf, yeah, it can go away.
Yeah.
That was like a one-off, and it's like, no, we can just use the one, rule them all.
Exactly. I that was my interpretation of your plan, and yeah, I told Claude, I pointed it to the Substrate protobuf repo, I pointed to the Substrate Go repo, and to the packaging repo, and said, go do it. And it actually already locally verified that Substrate Go can be migrated to what is proposed in the PR. So yeah, it's there. If anyone can take a look, then we can also get this going.
Yeah, we can take a look there. I think we did freeze the Substrate Go releases, so we can unfreeze them and carve a release out. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, I wanted to have it available whenever Substrate Go is in a shape to adopt it. That you could adopt it.
This actually works out quite well, because yeah, we can make a bunch of breaking changes to Substrate Go, pull in the new Substrate, pull in the protobufs from the new library, which will actually help avoid some of the diamond dependency issues that we've been encountering in upgrading it. We can make like a clean break, use all the new packages, hopefully a less breakable API, and then go from there. Cool. What's your LLM workflow, by the way, Nils? Like, are you using Claude, Codex, or what level?
Yeah, so I'm switching a bit between Claude and IBM Bob, which is sometimes also using the entropic models, but you don't have control over it, because they're trying to be smart about routing requests to the best model, cost performance wise. Yeah, so I'm switching back and forth. I'm trying both.
Are you using like Opus with Claude, or?
Yeah, so I have essentially default configuration uses Opus, Opus 4.8. And yeah, I've been today and yesterday I've played, because I have colleagues who use it very extensively. I've played a bit with ultra review mode on some of the Substrate Java PRs, which essentially means you increase the effort from the default high to ultra, and then it obviously spends more tokens. But then it's it does a pretty good job. Like it sends out multiple sub-agents, some that look for correctness bugs, some that look for security bugs, and so on and so forth. And it found, I used it with the 2 PRs from Matthew from my team for Substrait Java, and it actually found things that I wouldn't have spotted right away because it introduced parts of the API I wasn't too familiar with. So that was for reviews was also super helpful.
Cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I've just been looking at some of your work and I'm trying to figure out. I think I've just been using Sonnet locally to some lazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much tokens at it. But also, actually,
Yeah,
sorry, before we devolve into too much, not devolve, before we get too into AI chat right now and workflow stuff, any other topics for the agenda? Otherwise, I can let people go. They don't want to stick around for extra stuff. Cool. If there's no other topics, I guess we can liberate people, and yeah, we can talk workflow. Maybe I'll pause the recording.
For reference on the Google group, I'm adding people as PMCs as owners, so anybody should be able to add people in the future.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay. On that note, I'll stop the recording.
At least I'm trying to do that.